So today I'll be talking to you about the role of music and sound in Islam, and specifically in Islamic devotion. There's a very complex relationship between Islamic theology and sound. So on the one hand, a lot of Islamic devotional practices really prize sound over, for instance, written text, but on the other hand, there's a certain amount of skepticism about the potentially bad moral effects that sound can have as well. And this raises a number of ethical and philosophical issues concerning how we think about sound, about music, and about sort of ethics, morality, and religion. So I'll just go over sort of some of the main points in the way that Islamic thought has traditionally approached sound in theory and in practice. On the one hand, certain forms of sound, which are often musicalized sounds, are really important to Islamic devotional practice. And this goes all the way back to sort of the stated origins of the Islamic religion, where Muhammad is said to have heard the Quran from the angel Gabriel and then to have recited it to his disciples, who then originally transmitted it through oral recitation. And then even when they wrote it down in the book, they would take a reciter with them to the places they were trying to convert in order to hear the sound of the words. And in some way, the sound of the words was what really showed that they were true, not necessarily just the sort of semantic content of them. And in this way, sound is understood to sort of be a guarantor of presence and of truth. And this continues to this day with the importance of Quranic recitation in Islamic practice. People will recite the Quran, often have the entire book memorized in sort of this musicalized singing style that sounds a bit like Gregorian chant, perhaps. This is done both in mosques and then also in sort of big public competitions now. So what's interesting, though, is that, at least according to some Muslim thinkers, this is actually not a form of music because it's directly inspired by God and not composed by people in the sort of Islamic view of this. And in fact, although some branches of Islam also use sort of instrumental music and dance in their practice, the Sufis are the most famous for this, others are really concerned that music could have really immoral and lascivious effects. There are some verses in the Quran and other texts that have led some Islamic authorities to actually completely prohibit music or to really circumscribe what kinds of musics can be practiced. And I guess what this shows sort of taken together is that Islam is really preoccupied with the power of sound and music, but that this power cuts both ways. So that on the one hand, this power can really be led to convince people of religious truths, but on the other hand, it's seen as something that's potentially dangerous and that needs to really be managed and in some cases even limited. Thanks.